Welcome to Webster Now with your host, Garrett Wagner.
It's not your money. A man stood at the town board podium and laid out a simple choice. There are two kinds of people who spend money that isn't theirs. The ones who figure out that means they can do whatever they want with it, and the ones who figure it out means they can't. Then he asked the board which kind they were. Many tonight, they've answered. A project a year in the making. $6 to $8 million in federal tax credits the town chased and never quite caught. A contract so lopsided that if one side sent an employee who showed up drunk and drove into the town's equipment, Webster's the one who's got to pay to fix it. And a number that got louder every time somebody said it out loud. A loss that can reach $22 million. Then a vote. 3-2. And a year of debate was over. Which leaves the question you, all of you residents, get to answer in November. Because 3 people want to run the town as town supervisor and are on the ballot come November this year. And on this exact decision, they don't agree. And you'll hear from them where they stand in their own words, which almost never happens. And just a quick reminder, everything you hear today is my perspective only. Nothing said reflects official town policy or action. And before we're through, we'll talk about a brighter corner of Webster, where the answer to all this went. Whose money is it really? At the July 2nd board meeting, before the board got anywhere near the big decision of the night, supervisor candidate Sean Hanna stood up at the podium during public comment. And without meaning to, he set up the entire debate the board was about to have. And here's what he said. There's 2 kinds of people in government, both of which start the same way. It's not my money. One group finishes that sentence with, so I can do anything I want with it. The other finishes with, so I can't do anything I want with it. Then he turned to the board and said, you have to decide which group you belong to. Now hold on to that. Because for about a year now, the board has been deciding which they are. And here's the project. Our wastewater treatment plant produces methane. That's what happens when a town flushes. Right now, the plant already uses a little under half of that gas on site. The rest gets burned off in the sky. Flares are called, gone. The idea was simple. What if you stopped burning it, cleaned it up, and sold it as renewable natural gas? And there are 2 ways that can pay off. First, you have the gas itself to sell. And second, because it's renewable energy, the project will qualify the town for a federal tax credit worth somewhere between $6 to $8 million. Put those together, and the pitch meant the town could make money instead of costing it. But building it and running it costs money too. So back on January 8th, the board voted to spend on an engineering study to answer one question. When you add up all the town would earn against what it costs to operate, does the town come out ahead or does it lose money? To do that study, they committed $348,000 of engineering to Navitas that's been working on the sewage treatment plant. And for the better part of the year, that's been the status quo. Projections, estimates, maybe this, maybe that. The work slowly moves on. But then the actual contract showed up from RG&E, the utility operator, because you can't sell gas into the system without a deal to connect to it. And Councilman Cahill, who's been on this from day one, brought a hard copy with him to the board meeting to make his point. Because here's what he found. Every imaginable risk in this contract lands back on the town of Webster. All of it. If their equipment gets damaged on the town's property, the town pays. If something goes wrong downstream, the town pays. The way the liability is written, unless you can prove RG&E was negligent in court, proving negligence is hard to do, it comes back to us, the taxpayers in the town of Webster. Here's how I put it that night to make it concrete. Picture one of their workers showing up. For whatever reason, they drive into the town's equipment and they wreck it. Under this contract, Webster is the one writing that check. That's the kind of deal it is. And this isn't just about being dramatic about one utility. I went and pulled all that I could find and I read them, which it's about as fun as it sounds. Every comparable contract like this in New York State from all the other utility providers, every one. RG&E is the most one-sided of all of them. All other utility providers share some of that burden. Some plainly say it, but RG&E won't. And when the town asked them to negotiate, the answer was essentially no, we're not moving. So that's the risk. What about the reward? Councilman Hunter made the honest case for it. And I want to give it its due mention because he wasn't wrong to make it. The town is right now literally burning money into the air. If you can turn that into a revenue stream, that's real income towards a town debt that sits around 130 to 140 million dollars. That's not nothing. That's a serious argument. Then the financial question became much simpler. Councilman Wright did the math and the room got quiet because the projections show this project could lose the town as much as $22 million over 22 years. 22 million bucks. And that's not even the worst scenario. That's about $1 million a year. And that's before you factor in the town does not even have all the costs of the project yet. Her point was simple. She would not take a $22 million risk with the taxpayers' money in good conscience. And I'll add my own part to this. I sat on the board while this unfolded, and we never got enough certainty to answer the questions we started with. The town had $6 to $8 million in tax credit potential on the table. In over a year, nobody got to the finish line to even know if we could really make it work. And that runway is almost gone. The decision clock runs down around the end of August this year. We can't kick this can down the road forever. So this came to a vote at the July 2nd Town Board meeting. It's unsurprising that the outcome was not a vote to build anything, but a vote to stop, to cease all payments and end the project. 3-2. Councilman Cahill, Councilman Wright, and I voted ended. Supervisor Sheldon and Deputy Supervisor Hunter voted to keep it alive. The project's done. And look, I want to be careful here because there's a real argument on the other side. And disagreeing out loud, it's part of the job. But for me, this came down to time, and the information just wasn't there yet on a decision this big with taxpayers' money. So let me leave you with one honest question, though. Supporters talked about the environmental benefit. The gas the town would stop flaring. And that's fair. So let's take it seriously. Say Webster wants to spend money to help the environment. Noble cause. And let's peg it about $1 million a year, the potential annual cost downside of this project. If that's the goal, then the question is that the best way to spend it? Selling off the gas to a giant company so they can buy tax credits? Is that really the top of the list way the town could put $1 million a year towards the environment? So here's the thing to carry into this November election season. Sean asked the board which kind of people they'd be with the money that is theirs. But ultimately, you get to decide who you trust with your money in your town. Now listen, all 3 supervisor candidates were on the record about this exact project, which means you don't have to guess how they'd handle your money. You get to watch, you get to listen. So let's let them each speak for themselves because they're going to be the ones on the ballot and you're the one voting. First, the Republican candidate, Sean Hanna, the one who framed this whole thing. Here's his case in his own words.
Now, with respect to the gas reclamation project, don't we all wish that we could take projections, bring them to the bank and deposit them into our checking account? Or bring them to Wegmans and buy groceries with projections? That would be wonderful because the gas reclamation project is full of projections, lots of them. The notion that we're going to get paid for the grant, that's a projection. Customers for the gas, that's a projection. The rates that those customers would pay, a projection. The cost of building the buildings, very, very much a projection. But you know what is not a projection? Webster's debt. We have $120 million of debt. Every one of those dollars is very, very real. And it's going to get worse because we have additional projects in the pipeline like pump houses, pump stations that we are going to have to build. And we're going to have to reckon with that. Do you know what Parrington's debt is? 0. They have a little bit of debt in the sewer department that they have a dedicated funding source for, but nothing outside of the sewer department. They have no debt. This is a project that we cannot afford. We can't even afford to talk about it. As we're standing here talking tonight, we have a contract whereby we are paying very expensive folks to design a project that we can't afford to build. Does that make sense to any businessman in this room? Maybe to one. And don't even get me started on the RG&E contract. Has anyone who supports this project, has any one of you actually read the RG&E contract? Every imaginable risk is assigned to the town of Webster. If any of these people were my law clients, I would physically tackle them before I would allow them to sign this contract. We shouldn't do it on behalf of the town.
Next, Kevin Lockhart, running as Webster's first independent nominee for supervisor. He wasn't part of the RNG discussions, and he said so, but he came out with one lens he holds everything up to.
So let's start at the beginning of this resolution, because my number one concern, as I always say when I come up here, is the residents and their satisfaction and quality of life. And the biggest concern that I hear that I cross-reference every decision by this board through is the spending. The spending is out of control. We need to cut the fat. This town loves to spend. As my colleague Sean says, the debt is $120 million, and it is totally out of control. We got to pay it down because Parenton doesn't have debt like this, and we're going to surpass Parenton pretty soon in many other ways. Resolution number 8, I have a question about. On its face, love the way it sounds. Seesaw payments related to the renewable natural gas project for expenditures not yet incurred. Love that. Need more context on that to understand what is going on there. Obviously, discussion happening by the board, not involving me. Love the way it sounds, though.
Two challengers, both waving the caution flag, but the person who actually had the vote that night and voted the other way is the incumbent. Here's the supervisor, Alex Sheldon, the Democrat, making a case for keeping the project alive.
I'm with Councilman Hunter in the minority. I do see the risks. There are risks. There are risks with any contract we have. And our town attorney has done a great job of listing them out. There are a lot of risks. The liabilities are there. They did everything they could to get to RG&E to try and get them to compromise with us. We're not in a position to do it. I can wish all day that they would, but they're not, to give a little more assurances to the town. But I really did look at this as looking at the risk versus the reward. And I would agree with Councilman Hunter that, the revenue is there. Looking at our Director of Finance's numbers, despite the updated O&M costs, the tax credits, everything, it's just, this is a possibility for us to pay down our debt sooner and get to a point within 10 years that we could actively start to not have this level of debt anymore. That's just my opinion. Everybody is entitled to theirs. This is why this is a vote. This is why there are 5 of us, and this is why we are having this vote tonight, is because there are a lot of risks. There are a lot of concerns, and these are not easy decisions, and I appreciate everyone being able to voice what they want out of this. And I appreciate everyone at this point talking about it and having this discussion. But I still see the benefit, the economic benefit, the infrastructure benefit, the long-term reduction of our debt benefit. I still see the benefit of it. So
There you got it, Webster. 3 candidates, 1 chance to vote. And you just had the chance to hear from each of them in their own words how they think about spending your taxpayer dollars. And what I like about this is that almost never happens in local elections. And you don't have to take my read on any of them. And that's the point. In November, it's your read that counts. And that's the beauty of democracy. All right, let's pivot. Let's end where no matter how differently we view this town, we can all come to the same place because we call it home. Down in the Village of Webster, new stores are opening their doors, which is amazing to see. The village is bustling. It's busy. It's summertime. So I wanted to walk around, take some pics, show it's there. So take a little walk with me in our beautiful village.
Hey Webster, it's summertime and the village is a hopping. I don't know if you've been to the village recently up here in Webster, but there are stores galore, which is great to see, right? The village back in full swing. So I'm not gonna name them all. We'll have some pictures up here, but beautiful day. Come walk around, see what's to see. We got JoJo's for food, we got Lala's, we got Sweet Shenanigans, Mo Pasta, the new Mediterranean place, the Mary Wee, Threads and Tonic, Golden Boys, the bookstore, Annette's. The coach is back open as well. Come to the village, check out the community, walk around, get some food, do some shopping, have some fun. Don't miss your chance.
Plus, let's not forget, any trip to the village is not complete without swinging by the Webster Museum. A little gem hidden back here, just south of Main Street. Check it out. It's amazing. Every time you come, you see a little thing different, a little surprise in these nooks and crannies.
So when you're checking out the village, do not forget to check out the amazing, the wonderful, the Webster Museum.
That's Webster. It's amazing. We've got so much going on in the village. I couldn't be happier. Even stop by the museum, spice up your day. People open doors, building in our community, local businesses, building something worth walking down to see. And it's part of the same story. The project ended. 3 candidates showed you how they think. A few new doors opened in the village and opened back up. Different chapters, but one town. And your stake in all of it is the same. None of this runs on its own. It runs on residents like you who pay attention. And the next board meeting and the questions you ask the people who represent you, and in November, that's it. That's the whole job. And by watching, you just did part of it. And if this was worth your time, do me a favor. Like it, follow along, and share with the fellow Webster resident. The more of us pay attention, the better this town gets. Because as always, every step we take is a step towards a better Webster.
You've been watching Webster Now with Garrett Wagner. Join us next time for more local news and updates.